Hey, Alfonso Ivy here. And I just want to talk for a few moments about grief in light of living in a world where we are interconnected by internet and social media. And there's a lot of people dying, and we are totally aware of it. And maybe it wasn't that way before. Maybe people died at a slower rate, or so we thought. But now we know every single time someone dies, and it causes a lot of situations, a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions. And part of that is you can have PTSD. I think about the first time I learned that many of the people in the Air Force who flew the drones were sitting in an office somewhere, and but they could see all the death, all of the amount of time someone was killed in HD. And so even though they weren't there, it was as if they were there. And so they were still listed as people who were very likely to have PTSD. Well, that same thing has happened with grieving. Sometimes we don't have to be there. Sometimes it doesn't have to be someone we know. But if we are so connected to the internet and social media, then we can experience that grief. And so, just briefly, I want to talk to you about a type of grief called parasocial. Well, not even a type of grief, instead, a type of relationship, a parasocial relationship or parasocial interaction, which explains why we grieve for people who we really don't know. Well, the fact is, it feels like we know these people. Now, if you look up that definition, it'll kind of tell you it's a one-sided relationship. Maybe the other person doesn't even know you exist. But it still feels like we know the person. They've added value to our lives. We see them on social media. We see them on TV, on the news. Usually it's people who are celebrities like Kobe Bryant, Gerald Levert, Prince, Whitney Houston, several people who have passed, Amy Winehouse, people in the past, and they were locked into our families. And again, that's a parasocial relationship. And so it's perfectly reasonable if you begin to grieve when one of those people pass away. Got my beeper going off, and I don't know where it's going off at. So, what can we do about it? That's the question of the day. One thing we can do is unplug. We don't have to look at every single news event. We don't have to be plugged into every single story, TMZ, and etc. Just unplug for a little while. Even myself as a therapist, it can become overwhelming, and we have an overwhelming feeling of grief. And so just unplug. Give yourself a day, half a day at least, and then maybe some of that anxiety, some of the PTSD, some of the grief comes down a bit. And so the other thing that I say you can do is forgive yourself. Give yourself a line of credit. I used to be a business major. I was a business major before I was into mental health. And so extend yourself a loan. Nobody likes it when you go into the bank and you can't get a loan. Well, give yourself a loan because that's what we need right now. Sometimes it feels like I can't even have grace for myself. So I'm saying give yourself the ability to not have any pressure on you at all, not have any expectations on you at all. You feel the way you feel, because if you put some type of pressure or some type of expectation on yourself that's unrealistic, you'll have what's called disenfranchised grief, which is, why am I grieving? And people are pissed off at me because I'm grieving for a person I don't know. And now you just have this stuck type of grief, which we call disenfranchised, because it feels like no one cares that you're grieving. So again, the answer, give yourself a line of credit, some grace, just to be able to say, hey, this is explainable. There's a reason I feel the way I feel because this person has added value to my life. And I should hurt about this. And so I'm going to give myself time to mourn, time to weep about it, and time to recover. And it's perfectly okay. That's a loan. Resources that you don't have. That's extending yourself grace, extending yourself some credit and some time. And other than that, I just say take it one day at a time. And I pray for all of you who have hurt because of Kobe Bryant and other people that you've lost in your life. And that is it. Grief.